Picture it. The year is 1849. Great Britain abolishes the Corn Laws and decides to annex Punjab. A new Roman Republic is established in Italy. Hungary decides to declare itself independent of Austria. And then Austria and Russia crush the new Hungarian Republic. And then Austria decides to have the very first air raid in Venice. And then Venice decides to surrender to Austria. Denmark becomes a constitutional monarchy. The last German Revolution of 1848 begins. Franz Schubert's Symphony No. 4 debuts 2 decades after he passes away. And the Rebellion Losses Bill passes in Canada, outraging citizens. Stateside, Elizabeth Blackwell becomes the first woman to receive a medical degree. The University of Wisconsin is established and starts with 1 room and 20 students. Harriet Tubman escapes slavery. A fire kicks off in San Francisco that will be the start of 7 massive fires over the next 2 years. The first photograph of the moon is taken on a rooftop in New York. Steamboat service to California begins. Edgar Allan Poe is found delirious on a park bench and dies mysteriously. Gas masks are patented in Kentucky. Speaking of patents, Abraham Lincoln applies for a patent for a device that lifts boats. He is the only president to apply for a patent. And finally, the Whigs make a comeback with their 12th president. Old Rough and Ready was the campaign slogan for Zachary Taylor. He was the general Polk sent to deal with the situation in Mexico. And that was something that a lot of people really liked about him, which is why he was picked as the nominee for the Whig Party. He came with a long military record, but he also came with about 100 slaves. Funny enough, Martin Van Buren was one of the people running against him. And he had established the Free Soilers Party, and if that party had never been created, it's likely that those people who voted for Martin Van Buren would have actually voted for the Democratic nominee against him, and we'd be having a very different video. Zachary Taylor was elected by the Whigs, but he wasn't willing to be controlled by them once in office. Taylor sort of viewed himself as kind of above politics and political parties. He saw himself as separate, kind of like a neutral party. So, probably against what his own party would have pushed for, he was pushing the new states, i.e. California, New Mexico, to quickly put together their constitutions and apply for statehood, because it was very likely that they were not going to be slave states. And that was causing a lot of discontent among Southern leaders. Aside from the whole institution of slavery to begin with, slavery, the topic, was causing a lot of issues between the North and the South. The South believed the rules were not strict enough against fugitive slaves going to the North, and the North really wanted to do away with slave markets, particularly in D.C., which is kind of supposed to be like more of a neutral zone. In early 1850, Taylor invited all these Southern leaders to hash it out in D.C. He said he would lead the army himself to enforce the law. And then the South threatened to secede. A few months later, on July 4th, he went to an event at the Washington Monument, where he drank a fudge ton of ice water. And he left, went back to the White House, where he ate a fudge ton of cherries, cold icebox type cherries, and then drank a ton of iced milk. Whether it was the ice, the cherries, or the milk, something made him sick, like violently ill. And he passed away just 5 days later. His official cause of death was cholera, therefore making Zachary Taylor the second president to pass away in office. So, wow. Stay tuned for the next video where we will discuss the very last president to not be associated with either the Democratic or the Republican Party.